Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Pinstripe Prospects Podcast, episode 24 of season number 2. Happy to be back with you once again. I'm your host, Ricky Keeler. And we actually have Yankees baseball to talk about. 3 exhibition games in the books. And Thursday night, the Yankees will kick off the 2020 Major League season against the Washington Nationals at Nats Park. So we'll actually get to talk about games that count, but definitely 3 games that I'm sure was weird to watch for some of you, if not all of you, and you're trying to get used to the new way we're watching baseball. We're getting to everything from the exhibition games, takeaways, what we thought about the experience of watching the game, thoughts on certain players, Mike King, Jordan Montgomery, Clint Frazier, Mike Ford, Aaron Judge. We're going to talk about almost everybody on the show. We'll get into some of the news from Tuesday about the close to finalizing the 30-man roster, some surprises that didn't make the roster, some disappointment, some observations of the early part of the roster. Then we'll take a quick break. We'll do some Yankees-themed predictions, and then our Major League predictions. So you'll find out who we think is going to win the World Series. Don't hold it against us. It's a 60-game season. That's my policy. 60 games, you can make any prediction you want, and I won't give you that much grief for it. And then we'll wrap it up with our final thoughts. So I'll remind you again, you can follow us on Twitter at Pinstripe Pros, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Please give a rating. We hope it's 5 stars. We just want to hear from you. Give us your feedback on what guests you want us to have on during the year, what topics you want us to talk about. We're just happy to hear from you, your feedback on the show. You can email me as well, rickjkeeler@gmail.com, or you can subscribe to wherever you get your podcast. Chances are the Pinstripe Prospects podcast is there. We'll talk about our Dugout subscription a little bit later on how you can follow our site for the premium articles we put up. We'll get into that later on in the show. So I want to bring in my 2 co-hosts for the evening. Once again, back here is James O'Connell. James, how you doing?
Doing great, Rick. We're finally here. Finally here to what we've been waiting for all along. Baseball. Meaningful baseball. However it's going to be boring. It's going to be fun. I don't care. I'm happy we have it here. So real excited for this upcoming week.
And once again, Alexis Farinacci, who runs our great social media accounts, is here. Alexis, how are you?
Doing well. We're 2 days away from opening day and real baseball that counts. Good time to be a Yankees fan.
Absolutely. So let's get into the exhibition games. Before we dive into specifics, I just want to get both of your thoughts. And James, I'll start with you, and Alexis, you could follow. Watching the games and seeing no fans, and now we finally got that reality of watching a game in this COVID-19 kind of environment. What'd you think of it? What'd you like about it? What you didn't like about it? Give me your thoughts on the experience.
Is it as exciting? No, it's obviously not as exciting just because the atmosphere is a little bit different. I'm sorry, different, a little bit different being an understatement. It's very different. I still enjoyed it. It's still baseball. One thing I guess I didn't like, would be from the interest. I guess the one thing with the interest games is that freaking camera angle from behind the catcher was driving me nuts. But when we got into real games, it was sure slightly boring. But like at the end of the day, that's because I guess the game didn't really mean anything, and I knew that in the back of my head. When I'm watching a meaningful game, I think I'll be just as excited, or close to as excited as I would be if there were fans in the seats.
Alexis, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say game 1, I was definitely excited. I mean, I think, as Aaron Judge said in his press conference today, it's been a long journey to get to where we're at now of having baseball. It's been a long journey for everybody through this whole COVID era and life that we're in right now, and I think it's good to have baseball back. It's going to be able to watch it. Was it a little weird? Yeah. Have to say the cardboard cutouts at Citi Field were awkward. I kind of enjoyed looking at an empty Yankee Stadium over cardboard cutouts at Citi Field. Those are just little too much, a little weird. But I mean, it's baseball. It's back. It's going to be here how it is going to be here. And game 2, we were a home run derby. That was a blast to watch.
Yeah, I'll give you my thoughts on it. I'll give this disclosure. I watched these 3 games after they were live, so maybe I didn't get the full experience, and maybe my experience Thursday will be better. So I include part of this being partially on me to maybe have to get into it a little bit more. I was not that into it. I thought, honestly, when you watch a home run, as great as the home run derby was Sunday, it's kind of like watching a batting practice home run. so you don't get I feel like you don't get the excitement of watching a home run get hit. It's maybe be weird on my part. That's just how I felt. There were times where I kind of I understand Michael Kay and David Cohn, yes, have to show you the dark at Yankee Stadium on Saturday night, but I thought that they mentioned it a little bit too much. And to me, it just made me feel more sad watching the game than it did watching the actual game. I didn't get the break from society that everybody thinks it is. To me, that's just not the case, at least right now. Maybe it's because these games didn't count. I think all in all, I don't mind the cutouts. I honestly think the game sound was better. Like the crowd noise was better at Yankee Stadium and Citi Field, where it's just muffled. So it didn't really add to anything. Yeah. But all in all, to me, I give it a wait and see. I think we need to see this on Thursday when it actually counts. And maybe you just have to get used to the new way of watching baseball. But to me, I was not as into it as I thought I would be. Let's put it that way.
Well, I see that, but at the end of the day, I think that's because the games didn't mean anything. Well, at the end of the day, you're watching. It's an exhibition. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be into as much of an exhibition as you would be a normal game. And I get that whole perspective, but I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is. I know you said with the escape from reality thing. I'm really not even looking for an escape from reality. I'm just looking for some sort of entertainment at this point, and it did fulfill that. I'll say that.
Yeah, I won't doubt that the game was entertaining at some point. It's just I felt like I would have been more excited. Like for example, like the Clint Frazier home run, I thought I would have been like more into like cheering for. Maybe I'm just not there yet. Maybe I'll be excited when somebody hits a home run on Thursday night, as I'm sure I probably will be. So there's still maybe ways to go. Again, I'm not saying that they did a bad job. It's just I'm blaming part of it on me. I think part of me has to maybe get used to it. But again, I want to see it Thursday when it counts, and maybe I'll get more into it. I'll be having my adult beverage and watching a little bit of the game and enjoying it. So we'll give it a wait and see. But all in all, I think it was okay. I think it went off pretty well for baseball. Let's get into these 3 exhibition games, and I think we're going to go one game at a time, just because I think we want to get as many topics as we can on these games. So let's start with Saturday night, which the Yankees won 9-3 at Citi Field. Mike Tauchman had 3 hits. I thought Alexis has started off. Mike King probably earned his way onto the opening day roster with the way he performed, just throwing mid-90s, throwing the ball inside. He looked as well as he possibly could have on Saturday.
Yeah, Michael King looked absolutely phenomenal. He had command of the zone. He got a lot of swings and misses, a lot of weak grounders that happened in that game. I think he definitely earned his way onto that roster. I think that was a game that he needed to be impressive and impress the staff, and I think he did that. I think he was absolutely dominant in his outing.
It was also funny to see him, James, you couldn't see him after. It was funny to see him kind of forget that you can't throw the ball around the infield after a strikeout anymore. Yeah,
that's going to take some adjustment. You even remember Garrett Cole in that sim game, or that what was that inter-squad game, where player where he was, that ball where he goes, I like that ball, and the next pitch he was using a ball he didn't like, allowed a home run to go and do R. It's going to take an adjustment with those guys. You're forgetting you can't throw the ball. It also is really funny when, I guess Gary's going to pump one down the third base line. And he stops himself, and Luke Voigt tries to turn around, throw to second base, stops himself. It's going to be such an adjustment for these guys. It's going to be really interesting to watch.
King threw 40 of his 59 pitches for strikes, very efficient. The bullpen, Zach Britton did give up a run, but it was just 2 hits, anything to worry about. So I thought all in all the pitching itself was very good on Saturday. And on offense, I thought your 2 stars, Clint Frazier at that mammoth 2-run homer in the 4th, second deck at Citi Field with a mask. That makes it, I think, even more impressive in itself. And Mike Tauchman was very good, 3 for 5. He got an RBI, setting the tone at the top of the order. And Tauchman, James, is going to play his way into a lot of games over these 60 games because of what he did last year, and then already starting the exhibition season off on a good note. He had more hits in this game than he had all of the original spring training.
I remember I was watching. Where was it? Which game was it? The game where he had 3 hits or whatnot. Was it 3 hits or 2 hits?
Saturday at 3 hits.
Yeah, I remember watching, and someone on Twitter was like, "Man, I really like this Mike Tauchman kid. Tauchman's 28 years old. You forget kind of just how he's just another one of those late bloomers that Brian Cashman happens to find every season at this point. Tauchman's going to play a crucial role at some point in the season because, number one, he's a lefty bat, and we know this lineup lacks those lefty bats. And if Brett Gardner struggles, he could very easily fill into that Brett Gardner role where he's just the starting left fielder. Can I see Miguel Andujar taking over the left fielder role? Maybe, but if it's not Miguel Andujar, Mike Tauchman is really knocking on the door. Him and Clint Frazier both knocking on the door for that left field job.
And I'll add this to that point too, Alexis. When you look at what Andujar did Saturday, 2 for 4 with an RBI, added to Clint Frazier's home run. It's a good problem for Aaron Boone to have, but when you have so many of these guys, it seems clicking, and these backup guys, how much do you balance getting them some starts to trying to win all these games and get as many wins as you can? It's going to be a tough problem for Boone to navigate, trying to keep everybody hot because Andujar's playing well, but you don't want to sacrifice defense. Frazier, of course, his bat's doing well, but his defense, the question. It's going to be a lot of roster shuffling for Boone over these 60 games.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it. Our roster's just stacked. I mean, you look at the lineup from top to bottom, and I mean, it's just power after power after power. And our outfield is stacked. We've got 6 or 7 outfielders that can go out there and really perform well and do their jobs well. And I think early on we'll see a lot of them get reps. As you know, I think the coaching staff is still going to kind of be cautious on how many innings these guys play. As you know, I think we're still kind of in a build-up phase. I don't think our guys. I mean, yes, they are game ready. But I think you see they've gone 7, 8 innings. Does Boone keep them around there? And do you see guys shuffling around as a result of that, within the first couple of weeks of the season maybe? But after that, yeah, we've got a good problem on our hands of having a really, really deep stacked roster.
Let's go to Sunday's game with the Yankees taking that one 6-0 at Yankee Stadium. Of course, Yankees offense hit a bunch of home runs, albeit a lot of them were against Corey Oswalt, who is not that great of a pitcher. But all in all, they did hit a bunch of homers. Judge hit a pair, but one off of Drew Smith. Gary Sanchez a home run. Luke Voigt had a home run off Drew Smith. And then Giancarlo Stanton with a mammoth shot off former Yankee Chasen Shreve. Let's start with Judge. And Alexis, I think this is a big couple of games for him. Of course, he hits the rare 3-out home run on Monday, which we'll get into. But on Sunday, he looked locked in, 2 for 4, 3 RBIs in his first summer camp game, and really the first action we've seen from Judge in a long time. He kind of put to bed those thoughts we had last week of what to worry about the neck. It didn't seem like an issue.
Yeah, no, that neck is not an issue for Judge anymore, and he spoke on that in his press conferences within this past week and today included. So the neck's not an issue at all, and that he feels 100% ready for this season. Of course, Aaron Judge being the perfectionist he is, so, I'd still love to get a few more live at-bats in who wouldn't. The extra at-bats don't help anybody, or extra at-bats can't hurt anybody, I should say. But, yeah, he was absolutely locked in. I mean, like you said, 2 home runs, 3 RBIs that game. He's ready to go, and if he can stay healthy, look out. Judge is on a roll this season.
It is. We've seen it. When he's healthy, he's as locked in as anybody in the game. I think it's just the question, can he stay on the field for the bulk of these games? And I think the same true with Stanton. We know he can hit. We know he can crush balls into the bleachers. And I think this is the best opportunity for Stanton because he doesn't have to hear boos unless people hit boo on the cheering app baseball has. Besides that, he's going to play in a stadium where somewhat of the pressure is alleviated except in his own mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you said that too. I mean, with Giancarlo, I think we need to see a little bit more consistency at the plate. I think it's kind of one of those things where if he doesn't hit a home run, he's striking out or grounding out. I'd like to see a little bit more consistency with his at-bats, but him and Judge in the corners in the outfield, that outfield is ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, I said it, man. I said there's 2 people that there's one person that I'm excited to see playing in front of no fans and one person who I'm very worried to see playing in front of no fans. The guy I'm excited for is Giancarlo Stanton, and that's because from what we've seen, he doesn't look like the best player under pressure, just from what we've seen. And we haven't seen much, and the player I'm worried about pitching in front of no fans is Masahiro Tanaka. That's a guy that you want on the mound in the big game. Obviously, we know that, but in any given time, he can get absolutely annihilated by the Baltimore Orioles in a midsummer game in July and all whatnot. But when the lights shine brightest and then packed house and whoever else is on the mound, you know what Tanaka you're gonna get. I'm a little nervous for which Tanaka we're gonna get in front of no fans, in an atmosphere that may not be as exciting or will be able to get as amped as it would be a full house in the Bronx. But yeah, that's a little off track, but that's just my thoughts with those two guys.
No, I think I want to get into Tanaka in a second, but Stanton, I think to me, the one thing I worry about him with is when you hear David Cone basically say he has to make sure he doesn't swing at pitches out of his zone, and then yet still struck out on a 3-2 pitch and a slider out of the zone in the first inning on Sunday. Yes, it's one at bat. Maybe I'm making too much of it, but it just seems like a microcosm that Stanton's plate discipline isn't exactly improving. Albeit he did take more pitches than that at bats, so at least he's working long at bats. And I think maybe if he keeps doing it, it'd be more effective. But that was just something I had in mind. Alexis, I know you've had an update on Tanaka from earlier on Tuesday. When could we see him back on the mound for the Yankees?
Yeah, so right now it looks like potentially July 31st he could be returning. He did pitch a bullpen or a live bullpen today and faced live hitters for the first time since he exited on the line drive off of Giancarlo Stanton's bat. Faced hitters for the first time today, said he felt good. Said, the incident crossed his mind for the very first pitch he threw, which can't blame the guy. You have to have a little hesitation after getting knocked right in the head. You're going to have a little hesitation with that first pitch. But after that, he said it was back to business, said he felt really good today. Threw 20 total pitches. His next outing will be in about 5 days, potentially. With that, he'll probably go another inning or so, taking his pitch count to 35 to 40 pitches. If all goes well with that, according to Aaron Boone, it could be July 31st that we see Masahiro Tanaka back on the mound. So he won't be in this initial rotation, but hopefully second time through, we'll see Masa.
And really, when you think about it, it's really the first time through the rotation, because we're going to get into that. Their first time going through a full 5, because Aaron Boone, I know, said the Yankees are going to go to an opener on Sunday so they can get Garrett Cole pitching twice in the first few games of the season. So really, that first full time through 1 through 5, you'll get Tanaka at some point. So it won't really feel like you missed him too much, which is a good thing in a 60-game slate. The guy that now is optioned to satellite camp, which is maybe a surprise, but obviously more of, I think, the roster where the Yankees want to have as many bullpen pitchers on Sunday as possible, is Jordan Montgomery. And James, you commented before we got on the show, he looked like a different pitcher on Sunday. 5 innings, 2 hits, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk, 40 of 59 pitches for strikes. He's throwing mid-90s now. He's adding the heat to the fastball in addition to the off-speed stuff that he has. It's a Jordan Montgomery that can potentially do big things for this team in 2020.
Yeah, he looked like Clayton Kershaw, and I'm not kidding when I say that. I could not believe what I was watching. I was a little skeptical on Jordan Montgomery. Last week, kind of thought that Clark Schmidt and Jonathan Loizaga would maybe better fits. Obviously, it doesn't seem to be the case, although I would still like to make the argument for Clark Schmidt. I won't. Montgomery looked really, really sharp. The Mets had absolutely zero chance against him. He was just dominant. I never saw Montgomery as a guy who could dominate a game. I always saw him as a guy who would keep the Yankees in a game when need come to be, give you 6 innings, 3 runs, 5 innings, 2 runs, something along those lines. He was absolute nails, and I'm real excited to see what he can do for the season.
Yeah, I think the expectation is still 6 innings, 3 runs, keeping a ball game. But I think, Alexis, it's just a bonus if Montgomery gives you a couple of outings like he did in that exhibition game. The Yankees, I think, can't expect dominance, but when they get it, they should take it and be happy with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you guys said he threw just 59 pitches in that outing, giving up just 2 hits, 1 walk, recording 6 strikeouts over the course of 5 scoreless innings pitched that game, and finished his outing down in the bullpen. The only reason he was pulled out of that game is to get the relievers in that night. He wanted to get Loizaga in, and Boone wanted to also get Holder into the game. So that was the only reason Montgomery came in. Had it been a regular season game, Boone said Montgomery would have stayed in that game. So I think we're all shocked. But again, as we said, it could be some roster manipulation within the first couple weeks of the season that we see Montgomery going down to the taxi squad. But I don't think it's long before he returns.
Yeah, that's one of those things where Montgomery and even Clark Schmidt, which we'll get into in the satellite squad, I honestly think in Montgomery's case, it's to keep keep the arm built up to get to that start he makes next week at some point. And for Schmidt, I think it's there. We saw what Loiza could do, throwing 97 into Pete Alonso was just, even when it was a ball, I thought that was impressive. But for Schmidt's case, I honestly think it's just building him up to play a role later in the year. I don't think they want to put him in that bullpen role where they want to maybe pitch him like 40, 50 pitches at a time. They want him ready in case they need him when the roster gets shorter. And if they have injuries, he may be the first or second one they use. James, what do you think? What do you think on that one? With I know you were big high on Schmidt. What are you thinking with Schmidt being in the Scranton camp along with Montgomery for right now?
I mean, I'm not all that happy, to be honest with you. I thought Clark Schmidt was going to be the fifth starter. He just the upside there from what we've seen is just so incredible, and just to dream on a guy like that, you want to see him out there immediately. And I understand obviously he hasn't really pitched much even at Double-A to this point, but I don't know. I was a little disappointed to see him not make the team, but I understand why he didn't. And Montgomery is nothing more than roster manipulation here. He's the fifth starter, maybe even the fourth starter if you want to argue. Not much to see there with Jordan Montgomery.
And Clark Schmidt did take home a prestigious award. He took the 2020 James P. Dawson Award for the best Yankee rookie in spring training. So that's a good honor for Clark Schmidt to have, and he's going to play a big role in this team in some way, shape, or form. But he got the sense when he didn't pitch in any of the exhibitions that he wasn't going to make this team out of the gate. Doesn't mean he won't play a factor going forward. Let's look at Monday's game, which was a 2-2 tie. A lot of fun between Joe Girardi, former Yankee manager, and now the current one, Aaron Boone, where they're trying to get DJ LeMahieu extra at bats, even though he's not playing the field. Aaron Judge gets to hit a home run with 3 outs, which he didn't know what to do. Vince Velasquez was upset. A weird game, all things considering. Davy Garcia got this start, was not that great, but the Yankee pitching staff was good behind him. David Hale got out of some big situations despite walking 3. Nick Nelson, really strong inning in 2/3. Zach Brooks Kriske struck out a couple batters in an inning. I think also, though, Alexis, the big takeaway from this is, mentioned the Judge 3-out homer. Mike Ford with a game-tying home run in the bottom of the ninth. Yeah, it's exhibition, but you end up not losing the game, and Mike Ford continues to show why Aaron Boone and the Yankees are so high on him as being that power bat, either starting at first base or coming off the bench in a late-game situation.
Yeah, I think that was a great spot for Mike Ford to come in and hit that home run like he did, in a regular season situation. At the end of that inning, we're going to the extra innings. But Boone and Girardi both kind of looked at each other and said, we're good for this one. We got our guys in. That's good. But, yeah, that 3-out home run, everybody was confused. You go to commercial break, then all of a sudden they come out of commercial and Aaron Judge is rounding the bases, and you're like, what just happened? Michael Kay comes on to explain they wanted to get Velasquez a little bit more pitching time, and thus an Aaron Judge home run that somehow with 3 outs still counted in the game.
Yeah, and I wonder, James, if Girardi hopefully went to Velasquez and said, listen, we're not going to hold this against you. We want you to throw to one more batter. Because all in all, I think if you're Vince Velasquez, you struck out 6, you held the Yankees to 4 hits, got out of a big bases load situation in the first inning. You got to feel good. It's just your manager let you face one more batter than you probably should have.
Yeah, no, Velasquez looked real sharp. He kept the Yankees off balance all night. Like what I saw from him, and we'll get into the Phillies later on for some predictions.
Yeah, Velasquez, I think he's kind of that X factor for the Phillies. If they get what we saw from him a couple of years ago, I mean, that can really change their rotation, but he looked like that old Vince Velasquez from a few years ago in this game. But all in all, Judge looked good. Besides that, the offense was not great, but you'll take it. You take going 2-0-1 in these exhibitions, and all in all, I think the Yankees are in a good form going into the season. You can't really complain much about anything, which I think is good. You don't want, yes, they're exhibitions, but you don't want to complain about much. So the Yankees are in good shape. Let's look at the kind of the roster for a second. And I think we talked about Montgomery being down for a little bit. But you look at what the Yankees have with this bench, and you not only have one speed guy, it sounds like you're going to get both Tyler Wade and Tyro Estrada. So the Yankees now, I think, James, into their multiple power options they have off the bench, and Andujar and Frazier and Ford and even Tauchman for a little bit. Now you have 2 speed guys you could use especially late in extra innings. I know Estrada got thrown out at third base on a weird pickoff move on Saturday, but all in all, to get two speed guys late in these games is going to be a plus for them.
Yeah, for sure. The Yankees are by far the deepest team in baseball. They have a surplus of talent all across the diamond, on the mound, whichever way you want to run it up here. They are the deepest team in baseball, and having that speed off the bench it's going to play a huge role, especially with that extra innings rule when you start with a runner on second base and that whole shenanigans there. So speed's going to play a factor. For Nanduhar, off the bench, being bats are going to play a factor. Say Brett Gardner comes up with, I don't know, in the extra innings, you could go right to Andujar forward, and then guess what? Andujar can go out to left, or Talk can go out to left. This is the deepest team in baseball, and it's going to come with a lot of advantages, especially during the season.
I think the interesting question, Alexis, is this. Going into Sunday, if the Yankees are using an opener, which it sounds like they are, and the options are between Loaizaga, Chad Green, or Michael King, who are you going with?
I'm going with King just based off that last the first exhibition game start. I thought he was absolutely lights out. I think without question you go King there. I think Loaizaga is a great pitcher to come out of the bullpen there, to back up King. I think we're still going to see the pitchers only be able to go 5-6 innings maybe as they're still building up. I think Loaizaga comes in after King, and I think that's a great pair.
See, I'd like it rather as a tandem start more than a bullpenning situation. Because if both guys go 3 innings, you're essentially getting two guys throwing 6 innings, kind of like a minor league start kind of thing, which I think makes more sense. If we're gonna go that route, I honestly think the choice is Loaizaga. Nothing against King. I'd rather start off Loaizaga against the top of the order for like the first couple innings, and then let Mike King maybe start in the third inning against the bottom of the order, kind of get him into the game a little bit, because it's going to be a tall order for the Yankees to try to win a bullpenning game against Patrick Corbin.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how many innings Boone is anticipating King to go, which I think, he'll probably state that within the next couple days, if King does become that starter on Sunday. But I like him for the long run. I mean, I could see your point, too, of, start Loaizaga and then bring King in for that long relief. I think we can go either way.
James, another wild card I think I'm looking at with this roster, Luis Avilan makes the team, albeit I think to help with the extra arms for Sunday. But you look at the Yankees situation right now, there's not a lot of lefties in the bullpen. And with the new 3, you got to pitch with 3 batters. There's no more lefty specialists anymore. We talk about how deep this bullpen can be. And I think when you look at potentially Avilan, and he could be that X factor if he can somehow find a way to get righties out too.
Yeah, I get it, but again, with that 3-batter rule, and just the Yankees are so lucky to have righties that can get anyone out. The arms they have in that pen are absolutely ridiculous. Ottavino, Canley, Green, they can get anyone out no matter what side they play they're in for. Not really all too concerned about not having a lefty in there. Could Avilan play a role? Sure, but I'm not really counting on it.
It's a new era over at Pinstripe Prospects as we are providing exclusive minor league content to paid subscribers with our Dugout membership program. You get scouting reports, player interviews, features, and much more in addition to the free Major League coverage that we will provide during the 2020 season. Sign up today for our Dugout membership program for either $5.50 a month or $40 per year. And if you're not sure about it, you could use the promo code IMissBaseball, and you get your first 30 days free. So take advantage of that opportunity. See the quality work that our team puts out there on the website. You'll definitely enjoy it, and I think you'll find the subscription is well worth it. So be sure to sign up for your Dugout membership today. So let's get into the prediction portion of our show. We're going to be doing a little bit of Yankee-themed predictions, and we're going to be doing a MLB predictions. We have 5 categories we're going to go to with Yankee predictions. So let's do the first one. Alexis, I'll have you start off, and then James, you can follow. Who hits the most home runs in 2020 for the Yankees?
Oh, man, I think, based off just his performance this week, I'm going Aaron Judge. I really like where his bat's at right now. I think if he can stay consistent and healthy and, just putting in that extra work that he's really done to improve himself, he's hungry after that early exit from playoffs last year. He really wants it this year. I think he comes out hot and hungry. Behind that, maybe Luke Voit. I like his bat, too, this year. I think he's been consistent in the preseason games as well.
Yeah, Judge is the answer. Judge is the answer. This guy's on a mission this year. He's healthy. You know how hot he can get, and in 60 he seems to be starting out pretty good right now. So, real excited to see what he can do in 60 games. Judge is the right answer here.
I'm gonna go a little bit different. I could see Judge being the choice, and I think he's definitely a good candidate. I think Stanton's a good candidate for this. On a 60-game stretch, he gets hot. Look out! I'm gonna go Gary Sanchez. You think about the pitches he's going to see toward the middle of the lineup. This is a guy that we know can get hot in a given month. Look at his rookie year in September, and this is a guy that can go crazy, especially in the summer months. He's very good in July and August, albeit you maybe approach it a little bit differently as at the start of the season as opposed to the middle of the season. But these are the kind of months where Gary gets going. So I'm going to go Gary Sanchez here as my leading home run guy. I won't give you a number, but I think it'll be really close between the three of them. For who leads in home runs. I'd be shocked if anybody else got on that list. Let's go to pitching. And James, I'll start with you. And I kind of made up a number here. This is not an official number in Vegas or anything like that. I looked at you make 12 starts for Garrett Cole. You average about 8 strikeouts a game, let's say. So I went over under 100.5 strikeouts for Garrett Cole this year.
I'm going to go with the over. And I think it's going to be over by a pretty decent margin. I could see it being 110, 115. I think he's going to strike out a minimum 9 batters a game. That's just where I stand. I think 6 innings, 9 strikeouts is going to be his typical line. But there are going to be nights where he gets his 13, his 14. I'm going over.
Yeah, I think, Alexis, if I made this 110 and a half, might have been a little tougher, but what do you think?
I think we could see over 110 too. And definitely over 100. I think you look easy 9 strikeouts a game. And you think prediction of potentially 12 outings over the course of the 60-game season. Maybe we get him snuck in there, maybe 1 or 2 more outings within there. I think easily over 100, possibly even over 110. I think we're looking at maybe 120, 130 strikeouts out of him this year.
Yeah, I'll admit I went low. You also got to consider that maybe he has a game where he only gets 6 or 7, but all in all, he's a guy with that kind of money. Would not surprise you if he averages 9, 10 a game. That's why I kind of went for the low bar at 8. But definitely I could see that Cole, if he keeps that expectation going, matching those numbers and exceeding them. We did home runs, and I go over on this one, by the way. Let's go. We did homers. Let's go most RBIs. And I think this is an interesting question because last year DJ LeMahieu led the team in RBIs with 102. You could go any which direction with this in this kind of lineup. Alexis, who do you got? Most RBIs on the Yankees this year?
Man, I think that's a hard one. Again, I think, if he can stay consistent with the home runs, potentially Judge if he's got runners on base. I think, too, I like your point of Gary Sanchez in the middle of the lineup there. Again, if he can get guys on base, that's a dangerous bat. So I think we either see Judge or Gary Sanchez.
And I'm going since I'm sticking with Judge being the most homers, I'm just going to assume he's going to get the most RBI. So I'm also going with Judge on this one.
I'm going Gleyber Torres because I think he's the guy most likely to not press for home runs as much. I think that's a guy that is a extra base hit machine. He's not the guy that I think that gets away from his approach, so he's, I think, less likely to slump out of the other power hitters. So I think if you're looking maybe at Torres, maybe a LeMahieu, maybe even an Aaron Hicks could be in this category too if he stays healthy. Mm-hmm. So I think those 3 guys are definitely some good candidates. I'm going to go with Torres. And I have a bigger prediction on Gleyber Torres later on. But I'll save that for the end of the show. Let's go to the interesting category, the Aroldis Chapman on the injured list to start the year due to COVID-19. Let's go most strikeouts by a relief pitcher this year. James, who do you think for that one?
Most strikeouts by a relief pitcher. Now, am I cheating if I choose someone that would be in an opener role?
Wow, I did not think of that as a qualification. Then that's a nice loophole by you.
Right.
Yeah, why not?
So I would be cheating, or should I just pick one of the guys in the back?
No. I did not qualify that loophole, so go ahead. I
don't want to cheat. I'm going to go without Avino. I'm going to go without Avino. Just because of the stuff alone, pure nasty stuff. He's going to strike out a lot of batters, make a lot of people look silly. I'm going to go without Avino.
What was your opener choice? If
Loizaga.
well, okay, well, that's a good choice. Alexis, who do you got?
James kind of stole mine. I think Ottavino. I think again a guy who's very hungry this year, and I think we see some long relief for coming out of that bullpen. I think David Hale looked really good last night. I think David Hale could be a candidate for a good number of strikeouts this year as well. But I got to go Ottavino as my number one.
Now, Adam Ottavino tied last year, if you go by strictly relievers, tied with Tommy Kahnle with 88 strikeouts. So those two actually had more than Aroldis Chapman, which if you look at the stats and you kind of think, you would think Chapman would have the most strikeouts last year. Did not happen. I'm going to go a little bit, I'm going to kind of take the opener semi route, but a guy's not going to get as many openers. I'm going to go, if you go by starts technically, the guy who had strikeouts last year was Chad Green. And I'm going to go with Chad Green because more likely he might get multiple 2-inning relief appearances. He might get 4 strikeouts out of the 6 or 7 batters or 8 batters he faces. He's a guy that usually will just either strike people out or allow some base hits. It's really hit or miss with Green. I think he's going to get the more multiple inning appearances, and that's going to give him the slight edge over Ottavino. So I'm going to go Chad Green here.
I like it.
And the last one, of course, being the team prediction. Alexis, you could start with this one. Over-under win total at 37.5. I think it's that in Vegas. It's around 36, 37, 38, depending on, I guess, what book you use.
I think we're over 37 wins. I really like this schedule this year, especially that last half of the schedule, man. That if the Yankees can be on top going into that, it's the Yankees' year. I say over.
Yeah, I'm going over. Obviously, I feel like that's just the correct answer. Because of just how weak the back end of the schedule is. The Marlins, the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, the Orioles, all bunched in there. I think it's over. I think the Yankees are way too talented, way too deep to not be over that number.
Yeah, we're going to get into what could be the Pittsburgh Blue Jays later on, but you think about it, the Yankees might not have to travel further south than Baltimore in September, and unless they have a Rays series on the road in September, if I remember correctly. But if they don't, then that's really all that much they're doing to traveling wise for that month. I'm going to go over. I think this is at least it's 39, 40 wins. I think you're kind of pushing it past 45 and 15 might be a stretch, but considering the schedule they have, it's not impossible. So I think definitely, I think over 37.5. I could see 39, 40, maybe 41.
But that's where I'm at. I'm at 41 and 19.
I can't go past 45. I mean, I think to me, 45 is like if anybody gets to 45, I think it's the Dodgers. Because I think the other team, if not besides the Yankees, that's looked really good this exhibition season, it's the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Mookie Betts already homering, Cody Bellinger's hitting grand slams. It's like they don't miss a beat, that team. But they're not my pick to win the pennant. We're going to get into that in a little bit. But before we do the MLB predictions, let's get everybody's thoughts on this. What do you, James, I'll start with you, and then Alexis, you can go. Blue Jays playing in Pittsburgh after Canada said you cannot play here this year due to the border rules that they have right now.
Yeah, it does. I'm just happy they're not playing in a minor league stadium. I think if you want to talk about boring, you know how bored you're going to be if you like on television. You feel like you're watching in a minor league stadium, a Major League Baseball game. Just a different atmosphere. I'm just glad they're playing in the Major League Stadium. So Canada, I don't know. I guess I understand your stance here, but just glad they're playing in a Major League Stadium.
Alexis, what do you think? I know Dunedin was a possible option, but it doesn't sound like they're going to go that route, although nothing's official yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were all shocked to see Pittsburgh, especially when there's not going to be fans in the stadium regardless. I don't see why they couldn't have, like you said, fixed that lighting in Buffalo or Dunedin, except for the fact that, Florida is one of the nation's hotspots right now for COVID-19, unfortunately. I think you could have seen them do Dunedin. You got the dorms and all that there, and that's where the players all kind of were during spring training. Thought it would be kind of an easy transition. But, hey, the Pittsburgh Blue Jays kind of has a ring, I guess. So, yeah, I think we see them go there, and we'll see what happens.
I honestly, I feel bad for the Blue Jays. I wish it was Buffalo. I think it would have just made a lot of those players are used to playing in Buffalo. So you also have that factor. I know there's a lighting issue, but again, it's easier to say fix it when there's probably not a chance you can fix it. It doesn't apply to Major League standards, but I thought the best thing would be for a lot of those younger players to stay in a ballpark they're familiar with, would have helped them. It's a shame because honestly, I don't know how this team is that they've got so much young talent. I'm real excited to see what this team can do, especially when Nate Pearson comes up after a week, which is a weird rule. He has to wait a week to play, but it's the service time rules. I guess we're used to that by now, but I feel like it's going to mess up this young team, and maybe they'll rally around it. But I was very excited to watch this team play, and you wonder now, does this basically take their season away? Yes, it's because of COVID, and you understand what the whole rules of Canada, but you now basically are a traveling team for 60 games. Even though you're playing in Pittsburgh at home, it's not going to feel like home.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I definitely agree with you, especially for the younger players. Now you're looking at going to Pittsburgh, a place you're not familiar with, a place that doesn't feel like home. I think players kind of expressed too that, while they understand the risks they're taking, there's a little bit of weariness that comes with having to travel right now. And that's going to be their life now. Potentially playing in a place that they've never really been or had a ton of playing time at. I think if Buffalo wasn't available, I think you easily went to Dunedin next just because it's your spring training site. But I agree with you. It's unfortunate for the Blue Jays, unfortunate for the players. And we'll see how this takes a toll on them with not having any kind of home field advantage this year.
So let's do a little bit of predictions. Of course, again, our predictions are probably going to be wrong. Don't hold it against us. But it's 60 games. Most likely, a lot of people are going to be wrong. But we will go with it. We're going to do division by division. Who our winners are. We'll each give our thought on what how division will go. We'll do wild cards. We'll do LCS, World Series, and then individual awards later on. Let's start in the AL East, obviously. Alexis, who do you got in the East?
I'm taking our Yankees.
Okay.
I think we have too good of a season. I really think it's the Yankees season to win.
James, who do you got?
I mean, yeah, the Yankees. I have the Yankees win the division, but are we doing the 5-1 thing?
If you want to give your thoughts, feel free.
All right, well,
I'll take it.
From the bottom up, I'll go Orioles, Red Sox, Blue Jays, Rays, and Yankees. I have the Yankees win the AL East, obviously. Not high on the Red Sox at all. I think I pretty much told everyone last week that this is a really bad baseball team with a couple capable hitters, obviously, but everywhere else they're pretty bad. So I had the Blue Jays ahead of the Red Sox, even playing in Pittsburgh. Yeah, Yankees, Rays, Blue Jays, Red Sox, Orioles.
I'll make it short. I have that same order. I have the Rays as one of my two wild cards. I just think that they are going to get really close to the Yankees. I think if the Yankees had a tougher September schedule, it might maybe think a little bit to Tampa Bay, but I think the Yankees just have enough depth to get by a team with the Rays that almost has equal the same amount of depth. But Tampa's going to be too good that they're going to get a wild card in this division, just beat up on the Orioles and beat up on the Red Sox, and potentially batters basically who's going to steal more games against the Blue Jays. I still think the Yankees have enough, especially with that schedule, that they should roll to the division title. But if it was a lot tougher schedule, it'd be closer. Still, I think two playoff teams are out of the East. Alexis, do you have the Rays as a wild card, or do you want me to go on to the next division so you don't spoil your predictions?
Yeah, I could see the Rays going into the wild card. I think the only switch I would make from your guys' 5 down to 1 order is I think we go Orioles, Blue Jays, Red Sox, Rays, Yankees. I think this season for the Blue Jays, unfortunately, with not having a home field, I think we see that take a toll. I really do, unfortunately, which could, I think, sneak the Red Sox above them. But yeah, I can see Rays going wild card for sure.
Yeah, I have the Rays as my first wild card team.
Okay. Let's go AL Central. A lot of intrigue in this division. James, who do you got?
Bottom up, we got the Royals, dead last. Tigers, the Cleveland Indians in third. The Chicago White Sox in second. And the Minnesota Twins winning the division again.
I'll go next before Alexis goes. And James and I did not share predictions going in, but we differ on the order. I have the Tigers 5th.
Okay.
I know that Casey Mize hopefully will be up during this season at some point. Maybe Matt Manning. We'll see some of these young Tiger players. I think the Royals have a little bit more. I think Matheny kind of helps them a little bit, so they get to 4th. I have Cleveland 3rd too. I just think they don't have that much. They'll take a step back, even though they did win over 90 games last year. They just don't have the same talent level as past Indians teams. I have the White Sox second, not a playoff team, but I think they're going to get close. I'm interested to see the evolution of Lucas Giolito as that top-line starting pitcher. They've got a good offense, really good young players like Jimenez, Luis Robert. I think that they've got so many good players that Rick Hahn can finally use the GM. And I have the Twins number one. Their offense is too good. They've added a couple of veteran pitchers. They'll have to make a move, I think, at the trade deadline for maybe another reliever or so to try to maybe get by the Yankees for once. But I think Minnesota is just too good. Their offense is going to rake in a 60-game season, so they finish number one for me. Alexis, who do you got?
Yeah, I got to go, a similar order. I go Tigers all the way down there at the bottom. Royals coming in fourth. Indians third. White Sox second. And I got to go with the Bomba squad of the Twins in first. And you guys, mentioned their need for potential relievers. I don't know that they have to make a trade. That farm system is deep. Just coming from experience of working in it, I like the Twins. I think their farm system is going to have a real good year too. And their taxi squad is stacked as well with arms and talent and power in the bats.
So not a lot of disagreement on the panel so far. Maybe we'll get some disagreement as we get closer.
I have to add this. Sorry, the Chicago White Sox are my second wild card team.
There we go. I like the thinking. I like that. I couldn't get to that point. I was very close.
Yeah, no, I'm there. I'm all the way in.
All right, let's go to the AL West, which I think is a little more predictable. I'll lead off because I didn't lead off the first two. At 5, I got the Mariners because, well, they don't have. I'm interested to see if Jared Kelenic gets in for you Met fans out there. I want to see him get some action. But the Mariners don't have that much talent yet. They're number 5. Texas is number 4, new ballpark. Joey Gallo's going to hit homers, but they're not quite there yet. I think a different division, they'd be a little bit closer. Angels at 3. Joe Adell and Mike Trout in the same outfield. Hopefully it can be fun, but they just don't have enough pitching, even with Anthony Rendon and Shohei Ohtani in the lineup and Ohtani on the mound for a little bit. They're not quite there. I got the A's at 2, and they're my second wild card. A little bit concerned about the injury to A.J. Puck, but the A's, I think, have too much young talent. They always seem to find pitchers out of nowhere, and they always seem to go on a run where they win 10 out of 12, 11 out of 13, 12 out of 14 during the year. I think they get on one of those rolls and get the second wild card. I was very close to picking them over the Astros because after Verlander and Greinke, there's a lot of question marks in that Astros rotation. We'll see what Lance McCullers gives them. How Dusty Baker does as manager is going to be interesting. The Astros should be fine. They don't have to hear boos unless you hit a boo on the app, but they probably won't hear it anyway. They did get hit a couple times in their first inter-squad game against the Royals, but I don't really see that being that much of a story this year because there are no fans and things like that. But I think Houston wins it, but closer than you think. They just edge out the division over the A's, but the A's make the playoffs. James, what do you got?
Same thing, Ricky. Mariners, Rangers, Angels, A's, Astros. Same exact thing for pretty much all the reasons you mentioned. I was contemplating putting the Angels a little bit higher, but then you look at that staff and you almost want to throw up in your mouth. They're bad. That staff. Yep, I completely agree with everything you said. The A's very talented. Always going to need a thorn in the side of whoever they play. So Astros, A's, Angels, Rangers, Mariners.
Alexis, what do you got?
I think we're all in agreement here. I've got Mariners at the bottom, Rangers, Angels, A's, and the Astros taking it all. As much as I kind of don't want to see the Astros winning their division, I think they're going to.
And I'm guessing your second wild card, Alexis, is the A's. I know you didn't give your wild cards, but
yeah, I'm going A's with my second wild card. I think they're going to be that sleeper team that people need to pay attention to this year. I think they've got a real chance to really compete with the Astros this year. Potentially take that number 1 spot, but I don't think if they don't take number 1, they're going to be that wild card spot for sure.
So let's go over to the National League, and let's start in the NL East, where I think we might have different ones on this.
We should. I'm just no way we have the same ones.
All right, so James, you lead it off. What do you think?
Starting with the NL East, right?
Yep.
Obviously, the Marlins in dead last. The New York Mets in 4th. The defending World Series champion Washington Nationals in 3rd. The Atlanta Braves in 2nd, and the Philadelphia Phillies winning the division.
I need to hear this. Why the Phillies? I'm shocked.
Why the Phillies? Well, I love that staff, man. I do. I love Aaron Nola. I love me some Zach Wheeler. I love the way Vince Velasquez looked. And I think I have a huge, huge year for Bryce Harper. that lineup, Didi on a contract year, JT Realmuto. Sure, the bullpen isn't exactly great, but I'm a big believer in the Phillies. I think that top to bottom they have a very good lineup, and that staff can be very, very good.
I'm guessing you have Atlanta as a wild card, or you're not going with
I
two.
do. I have Atlanta as the top wild card, and the thinking there is I was actually discussing this with my friends last night. We were kind of talking like, yeah, Atlanta, Atlanta for sure they're going to win the division, but outside of Acuna, Albies, Freeman, is and I'm forgetting one, right? Acuna, Albies, Freeman, who's no, that's what I mean. They're not really as talented as we think. Those arms are nice. Max Reed's nice. Soroka's nice. They have some nice arms in there. I just don't think they're as talented as we think. They have a lot. Like Albies and Acuna are very talented. Freeman, all talented players. I just don't think they have as much as perception really sees them to have. And Nick Markakis opting out is going to hurt them.
Especially does know that Yasiel Puig's contract doesn't go through because he got COVID-19.
Yes.
So that's somewhat of a big loss for Atlanta, although they could obviously re-sign him back down the road. I wouldn't be shocked if they did that.
Yeah, I don't think they have as much as we think, as everyone thinks they do.
Which means I think more of an opportunity for Austin Riley. I'm shocked. Alexis, before I get to you, you have Washington out of the playoffs? James?
Oh, me? Yeah. I thought you said. Yeah, no, I do. I don't have Washington in. Losing Rendon's going to hurt. Max Scherzer did not look any sort of good in that game against the Phillies, and again, kind of helped my Phillies situation. Max Scherzer was touching 93, 94. That's kind of where he was at. I see some regression. I do see some regression from the Nationals. Losing Rendon, maybe some slight aging regression from Max Scherzer. I'm not banking on it, but I'm just not there with the Nationals this year.
All right. Alexis, what do you got?
So I've got bottom up to top. I've got Marlins, Mets. I think we're going to have the Braves there in third. I've got the Nationals coming in second and taking a wild card. And then I got to agree with James. I think the Phillies are going to take it this year for the NL East.
Wow.
I think I like where they're at. My man Didi over there, that was hard to see him in the Phillies colors and not in pinstripes. Man, that hurt a little bit. Yeah, I think the Phillies are going to take it. I think we're going to have the Nationals in the wild card, followed by the Braves.
Wow. Okay, two pairs of Phillies buying the Joe Girardi Kool-Aid. I like it. I like it. All right. So mine are definitely different. I'll explain as I go. I obviously got the Marlins fifth. I've got the Phillies fourth. I love their offense. I really hate their bullpen. I really hate it. And they miss David Robertson. They miss Sir Anthony Dominguez. Hector Neris is not reliable a closer at all. I know Nick Pivetta could do some things a little bit. Maybe they get something out of Velasquez and Eflin on that rotation. Jake Arrieta's getting up there in age. Can Zach Wheeler be a reliable number two? We've seen bits and pieces. It's tough to trust Zach Wheeler right now. I think in this low division, I think Philly's fourth. I think that as much as Joe Girardi's get the most out of him, fourth place could be still only like a few games out. They're not maybe not a bad fourth. They're going to be in fourth. I got the Mets in third. I think their bullpen, they've got so many options. If Edwin Diaz can find it, they've got Betances, they've got Lugo, they've got Justin Wilson. We even saw Hunter Strickland do some good things for them Sunday night. I think he could be an option for them. I like their offense. Now they can use a DH, so Cespedes can DH, Ramos can DH, Alonso can even DH, or Dom Smith. They still have good pieces on offense, and they're starting. I think the only question that keeps them out of the playoffs for me, they don't have a reliable number two behind DeGrom. DeGrom can't make 20 starts. I don't trust Stroman. I don't trust Matz, and besides that, it's Rick Porcello and Michael Wacha. But to me, I think the Mets are third. I got the Braves second. I think they get one of the wild cards. I do like their young pitching staff, and they've got so many good arms in that satellite squad they can turn to if needed. And I keep an eye on Austin Riley. I think he could play a factor for the Braves. Maybe he finds it again from a couple of years ago. But they're still got a pretty strong team. They don't have that playoff hangover because they haven't played since October. They've kind of got past that. I'm going to go with the Nationals win this division. I just think Scherzer, Strasburg, and Corbin is just a really tough trio to beat in a 60-game season. You're getting three of them at least double-digit times if they all stay healthy, which is a big if. But despite Scherzer losing velocity in his fastball, to me, he's not the number one in this rotation. To me, it's Strasburg. If he stays on a good note, he's not going to pitch a lot of games in high humidity, which he does not like. But their offense, adding Eric Thames, I think, is a big help to them. They do lose Rendon. They do lose Ryan Zimmerman, too. But I keep an eye also on Starlin Castro. Kevin Long did good things with Daniel Murphy. I think he could do good things with Starlin Castro in that offense. So I have Washington. To me, they don't have that World Series hangover because they haven't played in a while. So I think Washington edges out Atlanta and wins this division.
Don't hate it.
Plus their bullpen, but in their bullpen, they added Will Harris to it with Hudson and Doolittle. I still think that's a strong. Dave Martinez has some good options there that he can turn to. So I think it's close. This East division is going to be a lot of fun. But you could go any which way. I think that's what makes it interesting. Let's go to the Central. Alexis, I'll start with you there. Another division that could go any which way.
Yeah, so I got bottom up Cubs in fifth, Reds, Cardinals.
Wow.
And I got Brewers winning it all. I like their offense this year.
So you went Cubs fifth, Reds fourth. You have the Pirates higher than the Reds?
I do. I like the Pirates. Again, I like their taxi squad as well.
Why?
I think that's a farm system that can do well.
Okay. All right. So you have so Milwaukee's going to be the only team out of this division for you, or you think St. Louis is getting a wild card?
I think St. Louis could get a wild card spot if they play well.
Okay. Interesting.
So,
James, what do you got?
I mean, we're just so far apart, but that's the fun of it, I guess. I have the Pirates in dead last because I really think they stink. I think they're a bad baseball team. I have the division champs from last year in fourth, the St. Louis Cardinals. Not a big believer in the Cardinals this year. The Milwaukee Brewers I have in third. The Chicago Cubs I have in second, as opposed to dead last. I get the questions surrounding their rotation, but you can ask the same exact questions about the Brewers and the Cardinals rotations. And I have the Cincinnati Reds winning this division. They're deep, man. I feel like people forget about just the acquisitions they made. They added Nick Castellanos. That staff led by Trevor Bauer, Sonny Gray, Luis Castillo. From the top bottom of this line, you still have Joey Votto, Eugenio Suarez, Mike Moustakas, Nick Castellanos. And Nick Senzel, of course. This is a deep team with a very good rotation and a very good lineup. I have the Cincinnati Reds winning this division.
I'm glad to see that James and I agree on this one, at least in somewhat way. I think the Pirates are fifth, which means that I guess technically if the Blue Jays do move to Pittsburgh, that the Pirates could be the second best team in Pittsburgh.
Right.
That would be really weird, but they're fifth. The Cubs are fourth to me. John Lester's their 4 starter, and he's on the decline. I just think their bullpen's not any good. You're relying on Craig Kimbrell a little bit more, and he struggled last year. Does he actually do something this year for the Cubs? Who knows? There's a little bit up in the air. Plus, David Ross, first-year manager. I think that plays into account. I have the Cardinals third. I think they'll compete for a playoff spot. Mike Schultz done a good job as manager for the Cardinals. To me, I think behind Jack Flaherty, you have a little bit of question marks. What does Carlos Martinez give the Cardinals this year? What does their bullpen look like? I think is interesting. Andrew Miller's getting up there in age a little bit as well. So I think that plays somewhat of a factor. I have the Brewers second because, quite frankly, Craig Counsell could use Josh Hader whenever he wants in a 60-game season. Doesn't have to worry about usage with Hader. I think he's going to pitch a ton, and I think that leads Milwaukee to the postseason. I think they get one of those wild cards. So I have Braves-Brewers as my wild card matchup, which would be great. I don't think – and they'll get Christian Yelich for the whole year this time. They made the playoffs last year in September without Christian Yelich. I think they don't worry about that this time. And Ryan Braun can DH, and I think you'll get a little bit more out of him that way. But I have the Reds number one. I can agree with what James said. I'll add a little bit more on the Reds later. That's another tease. Let's go to the NL West. I'm going to go with the Dodgers number one. Obvious. They're too good. They're deep. But I think their rotation holds them back of their ultimate goal with David Price opting out and their bullpen. A little bit shaky behind Jansen, as we saw last year, although I think Blake Trinan will help them. I have the Padres second. I think that's a team that can use their young players in the satellite squad to good use. They'll get a whole year out of Tatis. Machado bounces back. They've got good young pitchers. Maybe you see Mackenzie Gore for a little bit, which would be really cool. So I think San Diego's second. I got Arizona third. I love the Bumgarner addition. I think Arizona would be second in 162 games. I don't think they'll be in 60 games. Colorado fourth, because quite frankly, I can't put the Giants fourth. Johnny Cueto's their opening day starter. Need I say more? They stink. Giants are fifth. Alexis, what do you got?
Yeah, so I got Dodgers winning it all. I think the Padres are going to come in behind them. I've got Diamondbacks, Giants, and then Rockies. So bottom up, Rockies in fifth, Giants in fourth, D-backs third, Padres second, Dodgers winning it all in the NL West.
James, what do you got?
All right. So, let me get back to my page here. Okay. So, the Giants in dead last. They're bad. The Rockies in fourth. The Padres in third. The Arizona Diamondbacks as the second wild card team in second. And the Los Angeles Dodgers win the division.
Okay. I could have gone back and forth in Arizona, San Diego. Only here can you get analysis of Giants last, they stink, or they're bad. We don't add anything more on the Giants. All right, so let's go LCS and World Series since we both.
Wait, Ricky, who was your second NL wildcard team?
Milwaukee. I have Braves Brewers in the wild card game.
Okay.
I have Milwaukee winning it because Josh Hader.
I Braves Diamondbacks. Okay.
So let's go LCS then World Series. Alexis, you can give both your LCSs and your World Series pick.
So my AL is going to be Yankees versus Twins. And then I've got, I think either the Astros or the A's against the Phillies. And then
what?
Dodgers.
No, I mean, no. Who wins the LCS and then the league championship, and who wins the World Series? What we're going with.
Okay, so ALCS, I gotta go the Yankees. Okay. NLCS, I gotta go Dodgers. I think we're gonna see Yankees Dodgers in the World Series. Yankees taking it all.
James.
All right, so LCS, I have Yankees Twins. I do think the Twins are going to knock off the Astros, and that's because I do expect to see some sort of decline in Justin Verlander this year, just a smidge. I think that'll be enough to knock them down a little bit. And you have Zach Greinke as your number 2 starter. Sure, you might have Forrest Whitley hop in. Some of these guys hop in. I don't know if they have what they had in previous years. I think it's pretty obvious losing Gerrit Cole to the Yankees. That lineup is still absolutely ferocious, but with all the questions surrounding with the cheating scandal and whatnot, I just think the Twins are just supremely talented. That lineup really is going to do a lot of damage. Adding Josh Donaldson in there, they hit for power like no other. So Yankees, Twins, LCS. Obviously, you have the Yankees taking over the Twins, going to the World Series. And the NLCS, I have the Dodgers and Phillies. I'm real high on the Phillies this year. And that's because of, I guess, one of my predictions that I have later on when we discuss it. But I think we have a Dodgers-Phillies NLCS, and we do get a Yankees-Dodgers World Series with the Yankees coming out on top. And that's strictly because of the Dodgers' lack of starting pitching. Walker Buehler is fantastic, but guess what? When you have Gerrit Cole to match that, Walker Buehler isn't as fantastic. Clayton Kershaw, we know about him in the postseason. I can honestly see the Dodgers not making it to the World Series, but I do think that lineup is a little too ferocious to not make it to that stage. So I have Yankees Dodgers in the World Series, and the Yankees win the World Series.
All right, this has been interesting. Okay, so I'll start the LCS. I'm gonna go Yankees versus Astros.
Okay.
Because quite frankly, the Astros are a little bit better than the Twins. I think Gerrit Cole beats the Astros in Game 6 at Yankee Stadium and sends the Yankees to the World Series. So it kind of rubs into the Astros a little bit, and Dusty Baker gets to the LCS but falls just a little bit short of getting to that World Series that he, I think, deserves. He's a great manager. He should get a title. Not going to happen, though, this year. In the National League Championship Series, I have the Dodgers and I have the Reds. I think the Reds
going back and forth.
I think the Reds upset the Nationals in the division series. I think Cincinnati's just deep offensively. I think when you go into a short series with Gray, Castillo, and Bauer, to me that can somewhat match the close thing in the National League that can match the Scherzer, Strasburg, Corbin. I think it's those three. Sonny Gray's just different in the Reds rotation than he is in the Yankees rotation. And I think Cincinnati's going to make a trade for a relief pitcher, although Raisel Iglesias gets his shot to kind of be in that spotlight for a contending team. We'll see how he handles it. And, all right, time in a 60-game season, you got to be a little bit different. It's usually the chalk doesn't sometimes pan out. Yankees Reds.
Yeah. You know what? I don't hate that. I really don't because I wasn't ready to go there, but I don't hate that prediction. I like the Reds, man. I love me some of the Cincinnati Reds.
They gotta send me some Reds power. I'm really high on David Bell's team. They should send me some Red stuff.
Yeah, I don't hate that. That the Reds are a real good team, but I do think that Dodgers lineup is just way too much for anyone for most teams to handle. I mean, top to bottom, you got Bellinger, Mookie, Seager, Turner, Muncy, Will Smith. Uh, they're really just such a deep lineup. Jock Peterson, don't forget Jock Peterson that DH role because the DH is in the National League. That lineup is scary, scary good.
To me, it just comes down to why I think the Reds will beat the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers that they missed David Price, and I don't blame David Price for opting out at all. But I think your number 3 being a combination of Julio Urias, Alex Wood, Ross Stripling, maybe Dustin May, maybe you see Gratterall at some point. Do they trade for another starter? They possibly can because they got great prospects like crazy because they're the Dodgers. But Dave Roberts, there's just something about him that just can't seem to get the big one. You saw it last year against the Nats. We've seen it in World Series of the past. There's just something there. And I think Cincinnati kind of gets through. It's a rematch of 1976, only this time it's not a red sweep. The Yankees taking it home in 5 games to win the World Series. Yes, we are a Yankee site, but we all picked the Yankees because why not? I mean, rightfully so. They probably are the best team on paper going into the season.
Yep, and I would argue the hungriest team in baseball.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, time
for the Dodgers. But
yeah, that's true. That's true. Time for some individual award predictions, which are always fun. We're only going to do 2 here because I don't think we're doing a Rookie of the Year or that. Or
no.
Let's go to MVP. AL, and we'll do both AL and NL at the same time. Alexis, you go first.
What are we? You said MVP.
Yeah.
I think AL MVP gotta go Aaron Judge. That guy is hungry this year, and I think is gonna have a phenomenal year at the plate. NL MVP, man, that's gonna be a tough one. I think I don't know who we could see with that. I think if he comes back healthy, I think Yasiel Puig. I think he could be our AL MVP or NL MVP if he can be healthy coming off of COVID.
So not only does Alexis think Puig signs with a National League team again, she thinks he's gonna win MVP. I'm interested by this.
Oh wait, I guess he's with an AL team now, isn't he?
He's not with any team right now.
Right. That's why this is so wild.
I thought wasn't he signed?
He was signed because he got COVID. The deal didn't go through, so you could change that. You want me to go back to James? You'll go James first, and I'll go back to you for the NL.
Yeah, come back to me first.
All right, James, go ahead.
All right. American League MVP is Aaron Judge. I just building off what Alexis said. The dude's hungry. He's out to prove that he's not, that he's still that guy. People forget just how valuable he is. He's now, in my eyes, the best defensive right fielder in baseball. Not in baseball, I'm sorry, in the American League with Mookie Betts out. So you factor in likely a Gold Glove maybe for Aaron Judge in right field this year, and just a monster year he's going to have defensively. That wins above replacement statistic is going to look real pretty to the writers for them. So AL MVP, Aaron Judge, and NL MVP. This might explain why I'm so high on this particular team, and it's Bryce Harper. I think Bryce Harper reminds everyone just a little bit who he is this year. First year in Philly last year. What obviously wasn't great. He hasn't been great in recent years, but I think this is a year where he reminds everyone just how talented a baseball player he is. It has a little more he has a lot of protection in that Phillies lineup. So Bryce Harper, I could see him having one of those typical Washington National ridiculous years. So give me NL MVP Bryce Harper.
Alexis, you have your NL MVP pick?
Yeah, I don't think if Yasiel Puig doesn't come back and get signed, I got to go with my man Pete Alonso with the Mets. I think he's gonna have a sneaky year that people aren't looking for, and I like his chances.
All right, so you both have the right team for AL MVP. You have the wrong player. I'm going Gleyber Torres. I think he's a guy that can be close to Gary Sanchez at the home run total. He's going to get the RBI total. He's going to hit for good average. He's going to play the Orioles in September a bunch of times. That's going to pad those stats very nicely. And he's going to be right up there, I think, in all the major categories. So I think Torres gets the MVP, not Judge. And I'm high on the Reds, right? I have to pick a Red to be MVP. I think it's only fair. Eugenio Suarez wins MVP. 49 home runs last year. The only player who had more homers in the National League, I believe, was Pete Alonso. He's driven in 100 runs each of the last 2 years. He's healthy, which he wouldn't have been if the season had started on time. He now gets to be in a crowded lineup with Castellanos, between Votto and Castellanos in all likelihood. He's going to get pitches to hit, and he's going to rake in that ballpark. To me, I think if the Reds win the division and they're that surprise team or that close to surprise team, someone on that team's going to get some love from the writers. I think Suarez kind of shines. Not a lot of people look at him as that top third baseman. With Rendon out, he kind of moves up a little bit in the National League. I'm going to go Suarez as my MVP. So let's go Cy Young. I'll lead off first. AL Cy Young, I tried to be different. I really tried. Garrett Cole. Need I say more? I tried. I thought even Blake Snell or Charlie Morton. That's the closest I could get, to be honest. I'm going to go Cole. NL Cy Young, not Jacob deGrom, Steven Strasburg. I've been picking him for years. It never works. But I feel like now he's kind of that number one by stats in Washington, albeit Scherzer's number one by reputation, and he's still pretty good. But Strasburg, to me, has taken that next step the last couple of postseasons. I think now in a shortened season, you're going to see both the fastball and the off-speed pitches just come together for him. He's going to be dominant. He's continued to be dominant. He's one of the reasons why the Nationals won the World Series last year. I think with them winning the division again, Strasburg finally gets his accolades. In addition to the World Series MVP last year, he gets the Cy Young this time around. So Strasburg's my pick. Alexis, what do you got?
Gotta agree with you, man. Cole. Garrett Cole coming out with AL Cy Young. I just don't think anyone's going to top him this year. And then National League, I got to go Scherzer. I liked what I saw last year. I think he's had a couple shaky starts this offseason, but I think he comes back and has a good year.
Yeah, he had a rough exhibition game. I just feel like, to me, he just turns on a notch when the season starts. Even though he doesn't, the fastball's not as quick anymore. He just throws it hard, throws it well, locates it well. He's Mad Max. He's going to find a way to be good. I'm not worried about him. I wouldn't be shocked at that pick at all. James, who do you got?
I tried to sell myself on Tyler Glasnow winning American League Cy Young. I couldn't do it. It's Garrett Cole.
I should have said AL Cy Young, not named Garrett Cole. Maybe I would have paid off.
Yeah, I mean, it just happens to be Garrett Cole. I feel like there's just no one else I really could pick there. I'm sure he's not going to win it now just because I said that, but Garrett Cole and NL Cy Young, I went with Walker Buehler. You want to talk about electric stuff, man? That's a guy who's going to dominate for a long time. I think he's here now and he's ready for that.
He's the new number one in LA. That makes total sense.
Yeah, I really think that Walker. I'm real high on Walker Buehler.
I love Buehler. I had him in fantasy, I think, last year. I love Walker Buehler. He's fantastic. So I would not be shocked at that. You could also go Jack Flaherty. Yeah. I think I wouldn't be – there's a lot of good candidates in the National League. And none of us mentioned DeGrom. He could win it again and only win – hey, this is good for him. Don't win as many games. You can win a third Cy Young in a 60-game season. It wouldn't shock anybody at all. Yeah. So I think we all got good picks. Most of ours will be wrong. Maybe some on the Phillies. Maybe me on the Reds. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm totally off because I have – the NL pen, or Alexis has 4.
Won the NL MVP. Maybe that might be a little bit off.
I'm taking those odds to Vegas. Okay, yeah. Let's go. Before we go to final thoughts, we have to close with this Yankee thought before we give our individual. Alexis, what the heck is happening with Domingo Germán?
I don't know. I think we all were so confused this week with what he's even talking about. You know, he comes out with that cryptic post thanking Major League Baseball and saying he's done. Then he comes out with another post the next day that apologizes, said he's heated, but doesn't really explain if he's going somewhere or not. And then the Yankees come out and say he's not retiring. So I don't know. I'm just as confused as I think we all are on that topic.
Yeah, that was just I had to bring it up, but nobody knows. He's out for 60 games this season. He's out for the regular season and 3 games of the playoffs. We'll touch on that if Herman's still there and we get closer to that point. But that was just very odd seeing that over the weekend. What was going on with that situation? I have no clue. Let's go final thoughts, which is the point we could talk about anything, and we usually talk about anything. James, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not going golf this week. I'm just gonna go with some little sentimental thing here. Listen, baseball is back this week. Major League Baseball, the regular season, it starts this week, Thursday night. I don't know how long we'll have it. I don't know if we'll have it for a full season, but my message here is just enjoy it. Enjoy it while you have it, and let's hope that's the whole slate. It might not be, but let's try not to think about it and let's just enjoy what we got.
And the one thing you could say to the baseball's credit, their testing results have improved.
Right.
It'll be different. We'll see what happens now as teams travel. But for right now, it's getting better. And I think that's a good sign. You saw in the basketball bubble, nobody tested positive. So you're seeing good signs in these sports. Well, the NFL couldn't really agree on anything. But besides that, everything's good. Alexis, what are your thoughts for this week?
Yeah, I mean, again, kind of echoing off James, Yankees baseball and baseball as a whole is back on Thursday. I think that's something we've all been longing for and looking forward to. Yes, it's going to be in a different kind of scenario without the fans and with the whole cheering app that's coming into play, but I think this is a day that we've all been yearning for and longing for is the return of baseball, and now it's 2 days away. And like everybody's saying, we don't know how long we can have it. Hopefully we get it for the whole season. Hopefully the testing results continue to improve. Again, with basketball, no one in the bubble tested positive their last round of testing. So we're going to see basketball returning next week. Unfortunately, football did just announce that they're canceling all of preseason, and it's going to basically be an extended training camp. So I think at this point, the regular season's still in question there too. So enjoy these sports while we have them. Especially for us baseball fans, this is something to look forward to for us.
I'll give you 3 quick ones. Number 1, Phillies Nationals was an exhibition game on Saturday. It was on, I think, MLB.com or Twitter or something. They hit a 3-run homer, but you didn't have a graphic that said anybody was on base. It's 2020. If you're going to have a scoreboard graphic, let's put who's on base. This is not 1980. If you're going to have a scoreboard, I need to know who's on base when they hit a homer. That's all. I think that is easy enough, but baseball, what are we doing here? Number 2, I'm liking the idea of the cheer at the ballpark app, where you can now go on the MLB app and you could pick cheer or boo in certain games, and it kind of affects how the person controlling the crowd noise plays it at the ballpark. So you get to play a factor in it somewhat. So there'll be a lot of boos for Astros road games. It won't feel the same, but it's close enough, and you get cheers in right situations. You won't have loud cheers for a single more than a homer. So at least it changes the glitches for that. And number 3, I want to give props to baseball for trying to raise awareness for social justice. We saw the Giants take a knee during the national anthem during their game against the A's the last couple nights. We saw Kenya Middleton for the Angels. We know there are teams that are going to make some kind of stance. It's not a unit, not every team's going to do the same thing, we don't think. And I'm kind of interested what the Yankees do Thursday night. At the nation's capital, Dr. Fauci's throwing out the first pitch. I'm interested in this. What does Aaron Judge decide to do? And I think, or Aaron Hicks or any of these players, because I think one of the things I think we all can agree on, guys, is Aaron Judge is going to be under the microscope. If Aaron Judge kneels, is going to polarize half the country, and Aaron Judge is the beloved superstar. It'd be a courageous thing for Aaron Judge to do. I think that's going to be something I think people are going to pay close attention to on Thursday. I don't know if you guys want to comment on that. Feel free if you do.
It was a thought that Aaron Judge kneeling for the anthem, or one of these guys kneeling for the anthem, and at that point, like it is freedom of speech, and I don't know how people are going to take it, but if it happens, it happens, and I'm sure we'll talk about it here. There's going to be people who are saying, "Oh, this is wrong." There's going to be people saying, "Oh, this is very courageous," whoever for doing, or Aaron Judge or whatnot for doing this. So intrigued to see what happens. I really am, but I'm not really all that intrigued to talk about it.
It's a tough issue, but I know, Alexis, it was something that Judge wanted to talk about today.
Yeah, so we briefly touched on it and said that it's something that he hopes to have a discussion on with the team. You know, right now I guess it's kind of hard to have full team conversations with everything going on. You know, with the protocols and everything, they can't have full team meetings right now. But I think Judge kind of stated it. You know, Luke Voigt also talked about it today, talking about how, you know, major league players and athletes in general, they've got a platform they can use in a special way to kind of make their voices heard and a way to kind of stand up. You know, Luke Voigt also mentioning, you know, he has family in the military and wants to make sure that anything he does is also honoring his brother in the military and supporting those who serve as well. So I think we'll see the Yankees kind of either make a statement or do something within these first few games, possibly.
So that's just something to keep an eye on Thursday, because I think all these teams are going to make some form of statement in some way. We saw two teams do it already. We've seen, I think, the Reds do something along those lines. So something to monitor. So again, you can follow us on Twitter at Pinstripe Pros, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Please give a rating. We hope it's 5 stars. We want to hear from you. Give us your feedback, what you like, what you don't like. Email me as well if you'd like, rickjkeeler@gmail.com. We have so many things going on. Be sure to sign up for our Dugout membership program. It's great. You get 30 days free. Use the promo code IMissBaseball. You get awesome articles on the website. We have great content. Alexis is covering everything going on at Yankee Summer Camp and Intra-Squad. We have great opinion articles on, I think, one on the Yankees second base situation with LeMahieu, which we didn't really get into a lot tonight, but we'll see if LeMahieu gets into some of these games early on after getting some at-bats on Monday. So much to get into. James, how can they follow you on Twitter?
Give me a follow at O'ConnellNY on Twitter.
And Alexis, how can they follow you on Twitter?
You can follow me at Alexis Farinacci on Twitter.
Be sure to give them both a follow. You can follow me at Rickinator555. Follow my show, Kicking It With Kiro. We do it every week. This week's show will be out on Friday or Saturday. We're going to talk about the opening games. And I have my friend Gerald Brown from Sirius XM NBA on the show to talk about the restart for the NBA, what's going on in the bubble, and a little bit preview the NBA restart over there. So thanks for tuning in. We know it's gone a little bit longer than usual, but we're glad to share our predictions with you guys and talk about real baseball. We'll be back next week to talk about regular season baseball and everything that's gone along in the first few games. So for James, for Alexis, for our founder of Pinstripe Prospects, Rob Pimsner, I'm Ricky Keeler saying have a great week. Enjoy Yankees baseball, and we'll see you back here next week to talk about it.
Later.